Welcome everyone. My name's John. We've got Doug here as well as Jaeden and Casey and Beto as well in the background. So we're all from Centurion and welcome you to today's webinar on AI in the workplace from hype to impact.
Thanks everyone for attending this morning's webinar. This is a crash course or a look through AI in the workplace from hype to impact. My name is Doug. I am one of the client success managers here at Centurion. So I'll look after a lot of the AI stuff as it comes, as we kind of mature into that space. We've got Jaeden here as well. Jaeden, do you want to provide a little piece on yourself?
Yeah. So I'm one of the technical engineers who really deals with the nuts and bolts of Copilot and AI, sort of specializing in workflow automation, as well as Copilot adoption, which we work through with, or I work through with Doug for a lot of our clients.
Nice. And I'm not sure if we mentioned this at the start, but this session is being recorded, just for your information. John, it looks like we've got you back.
Yes.
We were worried for your safety.
OneDrive started to doing a backup just as I was about to introduce you, so thanks for taking over. Yeah, great. So just moving along, we'll get started right now. But if you have a question, we have a prize up for one lucky winner. So if you can answer these three questions on the left of this slide here, one being, what is the most annoying part of your job you wish you could automate away with AI? Number two, what best describes your team's maturity around this sort of AI? So are you just getting started, or do you have something activated but not completed or automated yet? And then any other questions you have, please put them through in the Q&A, and we'll pick a random lucky winner to give a all expenses paid complimentary pass to a physical event we're doing at a luxury hotel in Brisbane later this month on the 26th of November, which is food and drinks and an in-person version of this with a pretty famous speaker on that topic as well. So please, if anything pops up or you have an idea right now, shove it in the Q&A and we will answer that right at the end and you'll automatically enter the draw. So without further ado, oh, by the way, if you want that to be confidential, Casey's email address is right there. So Casey R for Roger at centurion.com.au. Okay, we'll get started without further ado. Just giving you a quick roundup, this does come up a bit, the difference between AI models versus applications. There's a bit of confusion here, but the model is sort of the engine running underneath. So one example might be Llama, which is Meta's model. There could be other ones like GPT-5 that comes out, but then the application layer is the thing that we would be mostly interfacing with on a day-to-day experience with these AI systems. For example, opening up ChatGPT in a web browser or using Copilot in your taskbar and querying that. So that's the difference between the two things. And there's kind of three streams, Doug, isn't there, of AIs, just to be clear here, because it is a bit of a basket term, but let's be specific here about what the three branches are.
Yeah, so AI has come to be a bit of an encompassing term now. When we talk about AI in the workplace, we're specifically kind of speaking around three different areas. So we've got some little GIFs here, just kind of playing through some examples of that. I will just start left to right. So AI assistants, Gen AI, that's probably what we're all most familiar about. And when we talk about AI, we're probably most instances referring to that Gen AI, which is our generative AI. So it's creating imagery for us or text-based stuff for us as well, documentation, that kind of thing. It's our general AI assistant. Automations, that's been around for a while, so nothing too new there. But when we can start adding in some AI smarts, that's where it really comes alive. We got things like sentiment analysis. We also have like invoice ingestion, that sort of thing. Some of those examples Jaden's gonna take us through later on this morning. And finally, agentic AI. So this is our autonomous kind of object or goal-orientated AI, and it's sort of running through a predefined task that it's been given. Maybe that's creating some documentation for you or coming to a solution that's been kind of predetermined.
Great. Okay. And we were looking at some research into the market in general, and there's a reason we're going to talk about two models in particular today, because of the two most used. So OpenAI is got the lion's market share of usage. And look, these stats do vary between which metric you want to measure them on. But in the workplace, especially where data security and privacy concerns are a bit more heightened, Copilot obviously dominates a lot and it's installed by default on a lot of our machines. So it sort of takes number two place. So we will just talk about those two mainly today. And what is the big difference if we had to summarize them?
Yeah, so we're seeing here ChatGPT Copilot making up the lion's share of that market space. ChatGPT really because OpenAI are pioneers in this space, and so that's what we're all kind of most keenly familiar with. So it's primarily generative AI. Privacy settings are determined by the user in most cases, although that's sort of different when we're looking at enterprise grade plans. But for those personal and lower level, lower tier plans, we need to be responsible for configuring our own privacy settings. There's a reliance on plugins to integrate with other applications. You think of your iManage and Clio and other kind of office-based applications as well. And Jaeden, you mentioned a while back when we were just kind of running through the last version of this webinar of a particular nasty there. Do you want to share that just around?
Yeah,
the dangers there?
there was instances of a lot of people using ChatGPT with a Google plugin to utilize Drive and Gmail and things like that. Google actually pulled that plugin for a period without notice. Whether or not there wasn't a lot out there in terms of a statement, whether or not that was maintenance or improvements, but it was pulled, and there were issues with people accessing their data. So
yeah, so there's a risk there when we're looking at kind of marrying different solutions together to achieve an outcome, and that these are different vendors. Sometimes it might be purpose driven, or sometimes it's a developer who's made a slight config change at the background, and that has broken kind of interoperability between those applications. Conversely, we have Microsoft's Copilot. So that's powered ultimately through OpenAI, who also kind of manage the ChatGPT engine, and other models as well. So we're seeing Microsoft kind of opening the door and leveraging other models too. Claude, as an example there. It's integrated across Microsoft 365. So that gives us the usability of the AI within our base Office applications, which is great. And we're going to look again at some examples of why that is so good later on this morning. We're able to securely.
And also, Doug, I didn't know this until you told me there's a difference between the two Copilots as well. So the one with the 365 little beneath the logo versus the other one. Can you tell us what the difference is there?
Yeah, there's two versions of the app. Microsoft are keenly pushing both out to everyone's desktops. They want to have Copilot on everyone's PC, it would seem. And the free version is just that. It's Microsoft Copilot Chat. And then there's the 365 version, which allows you to sign in and securely kind of access your data or bring that AI chat facility within your the context of your data. So all of those interactions, they're stored securely in your Microsoft environment, your Microsoft tenant, and can't be kind of spied upon by any prying eyes. And of course, being a Microsoft product, it brings that enterprise kind of maturity around security to the ground as well.
Okay, great. And this is really interesting. So Doug had the opportunity earlier in the year to talk with Clio. It was a conference. So Clio is a sort of legal software, and you ran a live poll, which is fascinating because just for context, most of the audience were probably representatives of legal firms or people in selling legal software and so on and so forth. So yeah, Doug, what did you ask them and what was the results?
Yeah, so we asked a couple questions in our poll. The example here being what is our kind of adoption of formal data governance strategy? So the overwhelming response was there is none, or none that they're aware of. But conversely, another follow-up question was, are you using AI? And over 50% of respondents are using AI. So we're seeing this trend that ultimately we are interacting with this technology without guardrails in place. And whilst most of the time that's going to be okay. There will be outliers, especially when we're talking about the use of sensitive data, sensitive information, where that becomes a major concern for us.
Which brings us to the importance of data governance. This is one of the services we offer is just doing that sort of initial security piece, isn't it, Doug? Like, and I know if you've been onto a website, you can go here, services, and down to data governance and AI, and you can listen to a story by one of our clients where we did this for them. But yeah, really important piece, I think, before everyone starts using AI to get your ship. So what are we going to talk about today and show you? We want to, enough with the theory, let's show you some examples from end to end. These are things that we've done ourselves or for clients. So it's very specific, but they'll come into these major categories that we saw were the most popular things that, according to this research survey, it said that documentation and knowledge retrieval, so we've got some really good examples of that, was like the number one. Or number two, content generation and writing assistance. So we're going to go through some examples there. And then also meeting notes and transcription. We've actually used this for ourselves to prepare for this meeting and use it internally, so we can show you some really good ideas there. And then data analysis as well with some of the agents. So we're going to go through the most popular use cases and show you some concrete examples. And hopefully that gets you excited and maybe gets your thoughts in order, and maybe you want to do some of that for yourself. So let's go to the first one, Copilot Search.
Yeah, so this is probably something a little known in the M365 Copilot platform. So it does make up the top leftmost button in M365 Copilot. Basically, it's AI-powered enterprise search. So it's integrated across M365 Copilot and all your business data. I actually have started using this quite a lot because I'm quite often thinking back on projects and wondering, I could have sworn I've seen that in an email. And all you need to do is search a reference to something, and it will search your emails across SharePoint, Teams messages as well, because it might not have just been in an email, and it pulls that up. Not only that, though, it actually gives context. So you probably can't see it in that particular screenshot there, but it will actually provide like a paragraph summarizing what it's found and maybe where to go next. And you can see that in the continue reading section there. And if you click, if you want to just click on that slide for me.
Yep.
I think we've got, yeah, so we've got another screenshot there that actually does show it. So you can see there in the middle, it's actually produced a summary based on my search query there, which is pretty in depth. So it's really handy rather than just using ordinary Outlook search, which I mean we all know is subpar at best. It'll give you much more detailed responses.
I think Gmail's even worse, but yeah, I've been trying to find emails from ages ago, and just it's sort of, unless you're really specific, you can't find that sort of generalized context.
It's really good for, this was mentioned somewhere and I can't remember where. You just chuck that in the search and it'll pull it up. It'll either be emails or Teams or SharePoint somewhere, and it'll pull it up for you.
What I like about that as well is you saw in there a non-Microsoft application Confluence. So
Yes.
Assuming that you have a connector configured for Copilot, this search facility is able to search across that content too. So thinking about Ignite or potentially Slack Enterprise as well, if you use the Slack IM tool as well.
Right. And then there's also this is one that I like, finishing emails or writing emails for me as well. I love this one.
So obviously there's more functionality built into the new Outlook than the old one, which I do happen to use the new one. I don't find it too bad. A lot of people don't agree with it, but it does have much better Copilot functionality. So obviously you can basically just throw your thoughts into an email, even in dot form, highlight it, and then you get a little Copilot context menu, which will allow you to reformat it. So you can get coaching as well after that. So you can change the tone, the length, brevity, obviously. But the little context window that you can see there playing in the GIF really gives you an understanding of what other options that you have there. And you can replace it or you can add it directly below so that you can just sort of compare what you typed out versus what Copilot typed out. And very soon as well, this doesn't come into drafting, but it comes into Copilot and Outlook. You'll have access to search and utilize delegate calendar search. So if you've got access to a calendar, you will be able to pull that up in Copilot, which is a very desirable feature at the moment. And then this slide, we've got just an image of the Copilot app within Outlook. So again, the modern Outlook, the new one, in the top right-hand corner, you get the little Copilot button, which pops out a Outlook version of M365 Copilot app. As confusing as that sounds, or is very difficult to explain, but essentially you get the chat context. So you can see there that I was actually looking for a particular email correspondence, and it's gone through and found, or basically summarized what it's found in Outlook for me, which comes back to the Copilot search functionality that we were talking about previously.
Yeah, but
so you get that kind of interface built into most Office apps, which is really handy. You don't have to flick back to the M365 Copilot app if you don't want to. Yeah,
no, I love it. And this is one of our questions from the last meeting, sort of webinar that we ran, was a bit more detail around some options here. So this is all new from the last one as well. And meeting planning, this is my favorite.
Yep, so we're still going on with Outlook here. This is actually a little bit of a new feature as well. You can create agendas, and this is super handy because it will actually base it off of, if it's an internal meeting, for example, I've added Doug there in that screenshot, and I've just given it a subject, and then I have hit the create agenda button, and it will search through my correspondence with Doug in terms of emails, Teams messages. It'll also look through our other meetings based on the keywords that it's got in that subject. So, and then it creates that agenda, and you can have it rewrite it. You can have it change the tone, the brevity, like you were drafting an email, and get all of that ready for the meeting without even thinking about it, based on context from emails.
So if it's a topic that you've kind of discussed a couple of times previous, it will then know that you've talked about these things and then bring whatever has been decided into this new one and sort of prompt you, correct?
Definitely. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Love that. That's really good.
And sort of building on that as well. So if you've got a meeting that's already been organized, even if you're not the organizer, you can actually proactively generate insights. So there are buttons at the top of the calendar appointment that you can see there. So you can generate some talking points, some pre-reads. You can even just chat with Copilot about that particular meeting. So you can build out better discussion points and things like that. Great.
Okay. Love that. And then Teams. So we were using Teams for planning this meeting because some of us are in the office, some of us are away from the office at different times, and we often have to talk on Teams and do debriefs. So yeah, I found this feature really good.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously Copilot is very heavily integrated with Teams, and it's probably the number one use that a lot of people have for Copilot at the moment, especially for meeting agendas, note-taking and things like that. As of October as well, meetings actually no longer need to be recorded or transcribed for you to utilize Copilot, which is really handy. It was a bit of a pain to have to announce that you're going to record the meeting just so that you can take notes. That's gone now. But essentially, expanding on Copilot for Teams, you can actually use it in chats now. And I mentioned this in the last one, but if you've got a really long chat thread where you've been away on holidays and there's been a whole heap of chat threads, when you open that up, you have a Copilot button, and you can actually have Copilot summarize those chats and mention to you whenever you've been raised in the discussion and what you need to do, your tasks, and things like that. Really handy. That same functionality is even built into Teams channels as well.
Yeah, and then it brings us to the agent Teams facilitator. So I do think this comes out of default, though, does it? You need to have a premium account or pay extra, is it? Or
you do need to have. So the organizer of a meeting needs to have a Copilot license for this to work, and obviously the facilitator agent needs to be approved in your organization. It is by default. Some organizations might just be a bit more restrictive, but essentially this builds on the functionality that you have of Copilot in a meeting, where it's taking notes, building discussion topics and things like that. You can add this to a meeting, and it will allow all meeting participants to interact with Copilot. So it takes notes. I mean, everything you can basically see there. So it summarizes key decisions, even open questions from the meeting discussion. It'll actually assign tasks to meeting participants as well if they're internal to the business, and at mentions participants who have been mentioned multiple times as well.
Yes.
That's not all it does, though. So, I mean, that's just some of the core features. But
yep.
This is probably my favorite most recent Copilot edition, because when Copilot first launched, maybe 2 years ago now, there was a lot of hype. Microsoft said it could do a lot of stuff that turned out to be wishful thinking. And AI note taking was something that had so much potential, but it was locked away. It was kind of static. It lived there after the meeting, and if you wanted anything to happen with that, you were manually copying and pasting it somewhere else. Third-party tools came along, and they had much greater flexibility and integration with the Microsoft suite. And Microsoft have finally caught up to that, and the facilitator is just for me, it's worth the Copilot license fee in itself, because it does all of that stuff and integrates. And as you say, this is just some of the stuff it can do already. But one thing that's coming up, maybe it's the end of the month or next month, is document creation. So if we were in this meeting and facilitator was turned on, and I asked Jaeden to prepare a spreadsheet on forecast sales for next year or something, at the end of the meeting, when facilitator delivers its kind of wrap up of the call, it will also include that template spreadsheet that was mentioned. So Jaeden can just jump in that, and it's got all of the kind of context that we were discussing around already. So it's super cool.
And what I've got here is actually just a little bit of a video of facilitator operating. So yeah, we'll just start that there. So you can see there that we've got generated notes enabled. And if we move over to the notes section of our meeting, we can actually see that actively taking notes of the meeting. And then further down as it gets there, it will produce the follow-up tasks and even assign those tasks to employees as well, as you can see there. And where it puts this after, so you might think, oh, well, that's well and good, but after the meeting, what do we do with that? Do we have to copy and paste it? No, it'll, so you can revisit that in the recap of the meeting. So if you go back to your calendar and open that meeting event, you've got a little recap button that you can have a look at. And it'll also create what's called a Microsoft Loop page. So that allows you to continue collaborating on those meeting notes, agendas, tasks, and things like that, even after the meeting's finished. Which is super, super handy. So you can actually turn that into, say, a project page or a product page or something like that, based on the notes that it's taken.
Great. And our next favorite program that a lot of finance execs, including myself and analysts, use is Excel. Should we play this video?
Yeah, by all means, play this one. So this is a feature that everyone has been dying for. Copilot in Excel has been a little bit lackluster until now. Agent mode came out in the Frontier program, which was obviously the testing program, and it's pretty well generally available now for Excel in the web. What you can see there is Copilot can now interact with your spreadsheets. So previously it was just a chat window that would suggest things on the side and how to do it. But now it is fully integrated. It can create pivot charts and other charts and things like that. You can even edit them on the fly. So you can continue to chat with it on the side, and it will edit that graph for you based on what you want it to do.
So you could say, like, get rid of the grid line, or give me a sort of curve happening here, an average curve, and do that without you going to the menu system, right?
Yeah, so there's still a limitation on this. Obviously, it's not available for the Excel desktop application yet. It's purely Excel on the web. I don't see that as an issue, but it is coming to the desktop application soon. Most of the spreadsheets it's working on are in OneDrive anyway, or in a SharePoint library. So your Excel in the web basically offers the same functionality.
Great. Okay, perfect. So I can't wait for that one to roll out internationally. So there were a couple of jokes going around when they were testing these things, but hopefully they've fixed all those issues when that release happens.
So, I mean, moving on to the broader agents for Copilot, and we've got the two main ones that you would commonly see in the Copilot interface, which is the researcher and analyst. So agents, they create a purpose Copilot with dictated knowledge sources. So it gives it a more directed response, I suppose, based on the knowledge sources that you want it to use. So we've got the researcher and the analyst are the main agents in this case. I have used the researcher quite a few times. It can take a little while for it to respond as well. I've had 15, 20 minutes before it's responded to me before. It basically uses a reasoning model. So it will go through, it'll ask itself questions, it'll go back and question its own responses to produce a more in-depth and more accurate report. Still leveraging, obviously, work data as well as web sources. And we do have a slide here next, which shows the analyst agent in action. So this is the researcher. So this is a good one for large reports that you need to understand better, or even creating reports, to be honest. And you can see there, as that scrolls down, just the sort of response that comes out with. It'll give you source citation as well. And it's ready to copy and chuck into a Word document.
What was the context of this one? Is this something you were researching, or?
No, this is actually just an example video that I have grabbed. Okay. So you can upload documents for the researcher to understand and build on, or you can actually create them from scratch as well.
I know last time you showed an example that you did, were you using financial reports, I think, from Tesla or something, and then it was like a very large document, wasn't it, with like full of financials and text, and then you were querying, what was it sales in the last quarter and what's the forecast for the future and things like that.
Yeah, that was the analyst agent. So I gave it a spreadsheet based on the electric vehicle sales in Australia.
Okay, I think that could be coming up next, is it?
No, I've actually removed that slide just because it was a bit. It's very hard to demonstrate these sorts of things without just getting in there and using it. But essentially, I uploaded this spreadsheet, and it had all the details around the EV sales, including the weight, sizing, dimensions, and things like that of the EVs. And then it produced analysis, and something that sort of caught me off guard was that it came to a conclusion that there was a relation between the physical size and weight of the EV and its mileage, essentially, which then affected the sales. Ooh. So really, really good. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, it's like having a BA on hand, which is good. Now, this is a really cool example. So we're not just talking about examples from Microsoft's video library or things that we've done personally on the side, but this is something we've done internally with one of our employees. Can one of you explain to me exactly what happened here? What was the problem, and then how did we solve it?
Yeah, so Soph in our HR team actually had documents and sources that we really needed certain staff to be able to reference and build their own documentation from. And we came up with the idea to build this into a custom agent. So again, as I mentioned before, this is a great way to basically give Copilot a very specific setting in terms of its sources, which produces a very specific output, depending on what goals you want it to, or you give it. So when you're creating a custom agent, you give it instructions, and that will dictate how its output comes out as well. But essentially, this was built on a SharePoint library, which had all those documents sitting in it. That allowed Soph to be able to add new ones to increase its knowledge, or edit the ones that are currently there. And there should be a little video that plays after this. Yeah, so we can see there that recommending rewards and benefits that staff currently want based on recent trends. And it'll go through and it'll use those source documents in that SharePoint library to build a response.
Yep. So
even give the citations.
I know she was PDFing communications and articles that she was really interested in around the HR and people function in Australia that was relevant to her job. So she basically was just putting everything to this one SharePoint folder, which then Jaeden, you helped set up this agent at the top. So then she can keep putting things in there as things progress, and then query it from now on. So it sort of serves as a bit of a knowledge bank for her to use to then create ideas, or to remind her of things that have happened in the past and that kind of thing. So I really like it. It's so simple and so easy to do.
Yeah. And you can share it with other staff as well. Obviously, the creator can just share that with whoever needs access to it. And it'll give them access to that knowledge source as well to be able to run that agent.
Yeah, so really good if it's like if the employees are asking you, how do you do that thing again, or what's the procedure around XYZ? Like, you can just send them this link to the folder, and they can discover their own questions, and you can just keep doing that. So I love that for not palming other employees off, but just having an efficient way for them to get the answers, even if you're not around. I think it's really powerful. Okay, great. And what else do we have? The app builder. Oh yeah, this is great.
Yeah. So this is in the Frontier program again, so sort of in the testing phase still, but it is available to give it a go. Basically, you can build these lightweight interactive apps just using a prompt. So there's no code involved. It's really good, and it's aimed at staff like marketing and sales who need to build just a simple app that people can interact with. Say if they want to create, actually we've got that in the next slide. If we want to move through to the next one. Which is an example of Can we move to the next?
I think we've
next
lost
slide.
John again. John's left the building. Just
there we go.
You're good.
So this is an example of one of the apps that the agent has built. So it was basically one of the pre-selected prompts, and it was to build an app that people can submit ideas for improving the team's culture. And it goes through, you can see that there on the left-hand side, and you can see all the steps and what it's doing. And then it creates that on the right-hand side, which is an app that will run natively within Copilot that you can share amongst everyone. And that's built off of things like SharePoint lists and forms and things like that. So it's very easy to administer as well. It's not hidden away in the Power Platform, so it doesn't require a lot of administrative knowledge to keep up with as well. Yeah, it's really quite good. Again, it's only in a testing phase at the moment, so there are a few rough edges, but it's definitely looking pretty promising.
It's a good Microsoft have this concept of fusion teams where they want to kind of empower the citizen developer or someone to, like a power user who's able to, well, not even really a power user, I guess, just a champion who can come in and quickly throw together what an application looks like, or their ideas for an app that they can then feed to a professional developer to go and turn that into reality. So this is a great example of that kind of evolution into that Copilot space.
Yeah, but I could add, you guys can hear me again. I think there's these other programs that are sort of third-party programs called Cursor, Lovable. You may have heard these web-based sort of app builder programs. I think the important difference here is that they sort of work similar, but it's within a self-contained, secure environment if you've got your settings configured. So therefore, you don't need to go to a third-party site and then go through that security process and vetting process. You can just have a double here, and then you'll know it's kind of self-contained, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yep.
And then the other agent that is currently in the Frontier program is something called Workflows, and this is something that we've all been very eager to test out, have a play with. Basically, you can build, just using natural language prompts again, workflows to make your day a lot easier. So things like sending emails, setting reminders, managing calendars. You can automate team updates. And this is plugged into, again, all of M365's SaaS solutions, so Teams, SharePoint. It's got access to all of that. And even uses Dataverse backend as well. So it sits on kind of the same infrastructure as Power Automate or the Power Platform. But you don't need to understand it to use it, which is, it may sound counterintuitive, but it's actually a very, very good way for people to create their own processes. And you don't need to understand triggers or actions or even connectors. You just describe what it wants, and away it goes. Now, the next slide I've got here is actually the Workflows agent in action. And this... I just don't know how to go back. That's
You
right.
can use the arrows down the bottom if you want.
Down the bottom. Yep, there we go. So this is the workflow agent creating the workflow that I've asked, which is basically morning email review and team summary. So this will go through my inbox, pick up any emails I might have missed from the day before, summarize them, and give them to me in Teams as a message to say, here we go. So this is the message that comes through. So things that need a response, things that are just for my information, and then other important emails as well. And I get that every morning now. So it's really quite good.
So hang on, Jaeden, because that was one of the questions last time. You could do this every week and go summarize everything that I did this week and send that as a summarized package to your line boss or whatever, going, hey, these are things I got completed this week as evidence of that, or even timesheets, like spending time on different tasks.
And it wouldn't even need to be an email, because we all get a lot of email noise, which is, I mean, we're all trying to get away from emails, really. It can be a Teams chat. So you could actually send all of that in something that people are more likely to see and more likely to pick up.
Great. That's
cool.
Really good. I'm going to use that. When does it get released?
It's actually working right now. So it's in the Frontier program, so it's still in kind of testing. GA, I'm not sure of a date, but it will be 2026 at this stage. But yeah, it's super handy. It is working now. It had a few bugs in previous months, but yeah, it's usable this time.
Wow. This is moving so fast. You know what's funny? Even from the last event that we did on this topic, in 2 weeks, everything's changed so much, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Some of the things that we were talking about as future releases are now released and with us
Yeah.
within that 2 week period.
I almost don't have time to go over everything. Another new agent that Microsoft are gearing up to release actually kind of flew under the radar until very recently, but agentic users or agentic staff. So they're creating user presence agents in organizations that you can chat to and email. They can jump in on meetings, and it will literally be an AI staff member. Which
So you
should be
create like a
interesting to see.
VA or like an EA almost to help you out. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good. Okay.
That's going down a whole rabbit hole, and I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I'm very interested to see how that comes through. Yeah, which I think maybe that's why it's flying under the radar.
Well,
Yeah,
next time,
so.
next webinar we do, it'll just be virtual Jaeden and virtual Doug.
Yeah.
It won't be us.
We're keeping this authentic for now, though. We're even doing physical events, so come to that one. But hey, one of the other questions from the last session that we did as well was around prompts. So we did show a prompt that I used to create an image, right? Which we're not covering this time. But I think just in general was that people have their own prompts, and then is there a central way we can store them and other people add to them, etc. So we've answered that question in a bit more detail here. So take it away.
Yeah, definitely. So a little known feature is actually the prompt gallery. And I say little known because Microsoft have kind of currently hidden it away a little bit. But when you're looking at the chat section of your M365 Copilot screen, if you expand the prompts that you can see there on the left-hand side, normally you just see the top three. If you expand them down, you'll actually get a prompt gallery button at the very bottom there. And what that will bring up is this on the right-hand side, which is the prompt gallery. Comprising of Microsoft created prompts that you can use. Sorry, it's a little bit fuzzy. But if you use the next tab over, which is your prompts, they're ones that you've saved. And I don't have a screenshot of how to save these, but you have to run the prompt first. So if you go into Copilot, send it something, send it a question. Once it responds, you'll be able to hover back over your question, and there'll be a little save button, and you can save that as a pre-filled prompt. And then you can actually copy links to these and then share them amongst users as well. And once you've done that, there'll be a third little button across the top there, which is prompts shared with you. They keep changing the wording. It's something like that. And you can actually pick and select those as well. So if you've got, say, financial teams that are quite commonly running specific prompts to audit spreadsheets and things like that, you can actually save those. They don't have to type them out every time. And yeah, that's a very little known feature.
That is a good time saver. And then also prompts change and people get better at prompting. So, you might want to modify and sort of work and get better on those. I know I do that for image gen. So that's
some lengthy prompts, you don't want to sit there and type them out again. You don't really want to keep them in a notepad. So it's really good. Yeah.
Great. Okay. What else?
Sometimes you're doing repeated tasks, but maybe the client is different or something. So you can just keep that saved prompt and then just edit what you need to.
Okay, and this is the architecture of the Power Platform. So I know we mentioned Copilot. I know the other one, Power BI, because we use that for dashboarding programs and everything, but I didn't know it was part of this bigger suite. So what is this suite?
Yes, I mean, this suite kind of transcends beyond Copilot itself. But basically, this is where you create third-party connectors to things like Confluence. This is where you create reports and automations that sit in the background that don't require user input. You've got things like Power Pages, which can create front-end client portals that are backed onto your or their client data or your company data. Automate kind of does Copilot kind of does wrap itself up around all of that now as well. So you've got AI functionality built into all of these things. So they're not just automations anymore. They're advanced automations or artificial intelligence automations.
Love it. That's great. Okay, so Doug, I think the important question we got asked here is like, there's a history of people doing AI projects and then it not working, right? There's this MIT study that said like 95% of projects fail, although there's been some conjecture around the details around that study. But anyway, there's a sort of growing sentiment that we've been set up with AI, people have been activated Copilot, and then it doesn't do anything. People just go on as usual and do their daily work. So if we're trying to sell the business case for this, you may hit a bit of resistance. So tell us how we could sell this internally.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of we can say around that. There's a lot of concern in workplaces that AI is coming to take our jobs, which really just isn't the case. We're a long way from any sort of sophistication in that department. But what we're seeing here on this slide is just kind of the burnout race that's come about probably since post-COVID, really, where we're responding to a lot of messages outside of business hours. As Jaeden said, we're kind of getting a lot of noise in emails. Every service we have, every platform sends us 10 emails a day, so 117 emails on average per workday. So it's an obscene amount of pressure on us to get through, a lot of noise, and that's what a lot of business leaders are saying, that we're seeing a lot of burnout in the workplace. We're seeing a lot of expectations that just can't be met because our employees are at or beyond capacity. And that's where AI really steps in, because it's in the name, right? It's co-pilot. It's sitting alongside you. You're able to give it those repetitive tasks, like we saw, those automations, things like that. The agentic side, where we're maybe able to set up kind of tender document creation, or that kind of task, and those things are now kind of taken off of our kind of shoulders, off of our workload, and we're able to focus on other things. Maybe it's client care, maybe it's looking at creative ways to expand our businesses, that sort of thing. So in terms of a business case, yep, that's kind of where Copilot and AI kind of sits.
Right, yeah. So if you have if you want to try and sell this internally, let us know. We've gone through that a couple of times already. But I think the next slide, what have we got on the next one?
Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Shadow IT, this is really important.
I was getting
think
ready for the Q&A.
That's okay. We're nearly there. I'm just conscious of time because we want to leave at least 15 minutes for that. So really quickly, the danger of not implementing AI, because often it comes with the expense of like activating accounts and that kind of thing. So you might get a bit of kickback. But the bigger risk that's probably unsaid is that people are using AI anyway, probably in an unsanctioned, unclean, unsecure, non-private environment on the side. And it's like a huge problem. So up to 71% of the latest report of UK employees like do this. So I think the risk of not implementing AI properly within your workplace is almost like outweighed by the penalties that you may and risk you're exposing the entire company to by not doing so. So I think that's a no-brainer for me. But
yeah, basically, we're all across the fact that AI is massively helpful. It's impacting our workday in a huge amount, and when we're not kind of influencing the direction from a corporate level, then our staff are just going out and finding their own ways. It's nothing new. We've seen it before as well with other things like sharing data across using Dropbox and Google Drives and those kind of tools.
I would also like to very quickly mention as well, so the M365 Copilot app that we're talking about here, that you typically do need a Copilot license to utilize. That Copilot license gives you access to agents and the ability to use your company data, or to reference and build context on your company data. But the M365 Copilot app, if you don't have a Copilot license, you can still use. So if you've got employees that really just want to use AI in the workplace, just ask simple questions that that they need off the web, for example, they can still use the M365 Copilot, which is secured in enterprise security layers. They don't need a license for that. It just won't reference company data. It just won't give them access to agents and things like that. So it's a great way to funnel. Most people want to use AI to do something as part of their role. So it's a really good way to funnel that through a secure AI platform without requiring a license.
Yeah, great. And that brings us to how we can help as well. So I think we've got a couple of programs here. We mentioned the data governance one, which is really setting up that sort of privacy and governance layer around the organizational-wide data, of which AI will be accessing. So it's really important to do that first. And you should probably already have a function already in a DPO or data protection officer. But often we found we just need to meet with the senior executives and sort of key decision makers within the business who will be leading the AI program, and that's why we created the AI readiness assessment. Just really quickly, Doug, what do we get out of that one?
Yeah, so the AI readiness assessment is there to help you uncover what your needs are as a business, where you can utilize AI just to be competitive and forward focused in a
Okay, great.
nutshell.
A bit of a workshop environment as well with senior leadership,
Work
correct? The format.
workshop
Yep.
format, yeah.
Great. Okay, perfect. And then moving on to the next one. Then, if you want to implement something, obviously there's a bit of a program here, but Copilot Quick Start is a bit of an offering we created for there. So please reach out. We've got some brochures in here that you can send to people up the chain as well. But yeah, Doug, just quickly, what do you get for that?
So Microsoft, you'll see in one of those brochures there, Microsoft have coined the term 11 by 11, which is they want to focus on seeing 11 minutes, a minimum of 11 minutes time saving per day over the course of 11 weeks. That is what they kind of deem as the sweet spot for AI adoption. So once we're keen to kind of step alongside you in that journey to ensure that happens. So it's less of a tech stack change and more of a cultural kind of embracing, and that's really where we want to try and partner and help you understand and get the most out of your license.
Great. Okay, perfect. And yeah, we just mentioned 1111 there. Obviously, there's sometimes you need to activate licenses depending on your environment and what you've already been subscribed to. So sometimes there are sort of licensing costs as well as the cost of running the program. But yeah, the 1111 is very important. So, but yeah, thanks again for attending, and we'll wrap it up there unless there's any other last questions. And look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Casey. Thanks, Beto, and everyone else for attending. Cheers.